Japan, let's see.
Japan.
While the Spanish police are giving their farmers a right good kicking and tear gassing, farmers in the UK are now also beginning to show their discontent with the way this global push for net zero is panning out. Farmers in Wales have now gathered twice in large numbers to discuss their way ahead for addressing their concerns over Mark Drakeford's Welsh Labour government's apparent push to drive Welsh agriculture over a cliff. Now, farmers in the European Union have already made their feelings very clear, and very in their politicians' faces too, and the establishment has kicked back. The scenes coming out of the EU are not at all pretty. Some police officers are essentially using thuggish behaviour against those rebellious farmers who refuse to bow to the globalist demands to shut down agriculture. It seems there are very dark places the globalists will go to in their quest for the ultimate control of the planet. Although a large congregation of farmers did end up forcibly removing one police car, and we don't need anyone emulating the French approach to adorning the roads outside. And then there's the French farmers using slurry to make their feelings known. Have to see the likes of decor of some politicians' homes. Now, the UK mainstream press has, so far, as I've said before, we couldn't possibly been giving the huge such behaviour by the farming community in the European Union a big, stiff ignoring. Given the seriousness of the situation, I find that very baffling. Until, that is, you factor in that the press is Ofcom controlled and billionaire funded. Then the penny drops. But our UK farmers are fully aware of the unrest of their colleagues across both the English Channel and the Irish Sea. And they're also impacted by exactly the same globalist diktats as their EU partners are. And the tensions are starting to exhibit themselves in Wales, because the Welsh Government, in its ultimate wisdom, has decided in a flagship policy that all farms must hand over 10% of their land to tree planting and another 10% to rewilding. As I've said in previous videos, the establishment blob wants to turn farmers into wildlife habitat guardians. Now here's the thing. What the Welsh Government has effectively done is ordered its farmers to repurpose 20% of their land to non-productive pursuits. Expensive, non-productive pursuits. And if they don't comply, they don't get anything from the new Welsh Agricultural Subsidy Scheme, and you'll probably go bust. But when you think about it, what has effectively happened is that the Welsh Government has commandeered 20% of Welsh farmland. The Welsh Government has taken control of that farmland. And what have the farmers got out of it? A promise of insufficient funding, it seems. Oh, and while they're doing that, we find out that healthy trees have just been cut down in Port Talbot's Skewen Park. And it seems that the correct procedures for lopping down mature healthy trees may not have been properly observed. Further, the council claims the tree roots kept breaking through a pathway that needed constant repair or someone would trip over and injure themselves, so the trees needed to be lopped down. Why not just move the route of the path instead? Lots have joined up thinking in the Welsh establishment, it seems. Not. The establishment disdain just shines through, doesn't it? Anyway, to get back on topic, as I said, the Welsh Government has, by diktat, appropriated full control over 20% of the farmers' land. And get this, that means they have shown that they have full control over all agricultural land. They can increase that percentage over time into the future at will. The establishment and its billionaires do not have to waste their money buying up agricultural land, as some people feared they might. No, they can just legislate it into their own control. Make it more and more unviable for traditional farming in their push to throw agriculture under the bus, to bring in the insects and the gunky Frankenfood factories. Basically, it's legalised theft of land. How long before 10% of agricultural land must be turned over by law to the production of locusts or grasshoppers for human consumption, for example? Think that has no chance of ever happening? We know the establishment goons want to wean us off of our traditional foods and onto eating insects and factory-produced chemical foods. So what better way to achieve that than by strangling natural food out and making it law to provide insect-based foods? And how long before those with large, well-kept gardens are under a similar spotlight? And then there are all those allotment holders out there to think about too. It won't just stop with farmers, you know. Those hard, communist, eco-warrior types are after total control of the land and the people on it. This has mission creep stamped all over it. Oh, and as an aside, many insects are haram under Sharia law, so must not be eaten. But I gather eating the likes of locusts and grasshoppers is okay. And here's a thought. How long would it be before some ultra-eco-loons said bug farms are cruel to insects and went around breaking into bug farms and releasing locusts into the wild to let them be free. Now to get serious again, there was a meeting of farmers in Welshpool last week and another in Carmarthenshire yesterday, where hundreds of farmers turned up to discuss their reaction to these new rules. Wales Online reports, farmers in Wales are warning that protests are inevitable over planned Welsh Government reforms. Former rugby referee turned farmer Nigel Owens is set to be one of the hundreds of people attending a meeting in Carmarthenshire on Thursday. That was yesterday. It follows a meeting in Welshpool last week that was attended by more than 1,000. Unions are warning that a new subsidy scheme for farms set to come in from 2025 is unworkable. And talking to BBC Wales, NFU Cymru Deputy President Abby Reader said, "This is such a different model to what's been there in the past. It's going to have catastrophic impacts on farming businesses. I was in a meeting last night and somebody said they went home and just cried." And Wales Online went on to explain that a consultation suggests that if every farm took part in this scheme, it would lead to an over 10% reduction in livestock. Tick in the box for the globalists, that one is. And an over 10% reduction in farm workers, that's circa 5,500 jobs. And the globalists just won't care about that. After all, they've just thrown 3,000 steel workers under the workless net zero bus, haven't they? So a few farmers isn't going to bother them, is it? But it does take away the argument for seasonal farm worker visas, doesn't it? Anyway, we live in very interesting times, as the Chinese say, and we all know that interesting times is very bad for ordinary people. So what do you think about all of this?
All right, guys, we're going to get right into it. Today I got a warning from a sheriff. I think it's pretty credible. He thinks it's really credible. So I have to share it with you guys, because what kind of person would I be if I had information like this and I didn't share it with you guys so you could be aware of what's going on, so you could be prepared and not scared. But this sheriff just left a big meeting. Now, did you guys know every year in Washington, D.C., they have a big meeting where all the sheriffs come out there on our dime probably and they discuss crime in their state and how to best tackle it. And I guess they think when they all get together, they're going to come up with some better solutions. Of course, the feds are there at the meeting, and they also put forward this warning to all the sheriffs, and I'm going to explain what it is. But this meeting comes out the February 3rd through the 6th. It was this year. Today is February 7th, so that's how fresh this news is. I try to get you guys the most pertinent information that really could affect you and your family's life, so that way you can be better prepared and not scared. So they just wrapped up their meeting. Basically, the seminar presentations are looking for contemporary and innovative educational seminars on law enforcement issues that attendees will find relevant to their job and agency. Seminar proposals for the NSA 2024 Winter Conference are not open. That means they're getting ready to start their winter stuff. They do a couple in the winter time, a couple in the summertime. The next one is in June 24th through the 27th in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. So these guys all just wrapped up their big to-do in Washington, D.C., and our buddy, good old salt of the earth sheriff, Richard Jones, went home to Ohio. He's from Butler County, Ohio, and issued this warning to his constituents, and this is what he did for his police officers. There is an ominous warning from Butler County Sheriff Richard Jones, whose district includes College Corner and Oxford. Jones has just returned from a national sheriff's conference in Washington, D.C., and said that a terrorist attack on the United States is coming. I'm going to tell you that it's going to happen here, Jones warned. He cited the fact that record numbers of people of all nationalities are pouring across our country's southern border. Jones said that the FBI's director indicated Chinese hackers are prepared to wreak havoc on American infrastructure. I just did that video for you guys. You heard it right out of his mouth. Okay? If you didn't see that video, you could go back and watch it. You are a fool if you do not listen to the chatter. The federal government says they are here and it's coming. Upon his return, Jones immediately equipped all deputies with AR-15s and expanded his citizen patrols. Okay, now that's the sheriff. Now, if you guys don't know, the sheriff is the best line of defense between you and the feds and the ATF and anybody else. If you guys get in a pickle, if your state has sheriffs, they are the law of the land. Okay, so most of the sheriffs in our country are actually voted in, so they do represent the people. He came home and immediately put out a presser warning everyone that they're hearing the chatter from the feds when they were in the Washington, D.C. meeting just ended yesterday, and they're telling them that something is going to pop off, and they know it, right? They know it because they've invited it all over into our country. Don't you guys know the pattern? Most of you probably do. But it's to create the crisis and then rush in with the fix. So I don't know what the fix will be to, what's going to go here, possibly, if it does. But you probably won't like it, okay? So this information is just to help you keep your head in the loop. Just keep your preps up, right? If you have stuff that you need to get at the store, make sure you're getting it. Don't let your stuff dwindle down like you would on a kind of a more relaxed type atmosphere. Okay, 2024 is going to be a bumpy ride. It is an election year. They are trying to push their agenda full steam ahead. They are super nervous that President Trump is going to win office again and throw a monkey wrench into all this thing. They are super nervous because Tucker Carlson is interviewing Vladimir Putin, which will be on air live tonight. Sometime today, he's supposed to release that stuff. And they are all melting down. You can tell that the paid for, propped up propaganda media, whenever they interviewed Putin, you can go back and see how many Stephanopoulos and all the people that interviewed Putin when it was just fine. That was called journalism. And the minute that Tucker Carlson wants to interview Putin, all of a sudden he is a traitor. So I'm just letting you guys know. I mean, if you just kind of pay attention, you can definitely see that there's going to be some bumpy roads coming up. All right? That's all I got for you guys. If you guys